I'm Laura Parks, Head of English at Northwood College for Girls, which is part of the Girls' Day School Trust. My project title was How does small group discussion in Year 8 girls impact analytical and social development through their study of English literature? And for this action I chose to explore William Shakespeare's The Tempest. My rationale for the project comes from years of observing girls in the classroom. Often we'll have students who have really good ideas but are very hesitant when it comes to sharing them in the wider class. They may feel underconfident or they may be worried about others' reactions, and these sorts of concerns are ones which came through some of my early research, my early questions to the Year 8s. I think these sorts of tendencies were exacerbated during COVID with switching to online learning during the 2 lockdowns that we had in the UK, and I think that this sort of enforced quiet made students even less willing to talk when they return to class. It's not just me who values girls talking within the classroom, or students in general talking within the classroom. Many educational theorists also value dialogic learning, i.e. learning through talk. There are texts, books, articles, blogs, podcasts by Claxton, Dweck, Nottingham, Richard and many other well-respected current educational theorists who explore the value of learning through discussion and learning through student talk. Barbara Blyman of the English and Media Centre argues that talk changes thinking in her book What Matters in English Teaching. She says, by talking, they, students, could hear what other people thought, and by saying what they themselves thought, they could clarify their own ideas. This core sharing and exchange of ideas through discussion is something which is integral to English teaching, and I am always looking for ways in which to enrich that process and bring it to the forefront of English teaching. The Education Endowment Foundation, a meta-study of various educational approaches, also values the potential for accelerated progress through dialogic learning and dialogic teaching. Here, the targeted use of student discussion in the classroom has, according to one educator, improved their ability to disagree respectfully, learning those pro-social skills that are so important not just in English lessons or in classrooms generally, but in life. In my action, I wanted to focus on creating an environment where the students' customary way of working, i.e. paired work in English, moved to trio work, and I wanted them to feel comfortable within that small group environment. As a result, every single lesson for half a term took place within this trio setup, and this I deliberately did not set up or prescribe how the trio should work. But I did create a series of tasks and structured activities which encouraged the students to talk in their trios and work together to create effective outcomes. My students were more interested and more enthusiastic about the idea of trio work than I initially anticipated.
I was excited because it was like something new that I hadn't tried before. Like, we'd always put in like pairs or 4s and 5s and stuff.
In fact, when I set up my initial survey to find out more about my students' preferred learning styles, there was, although some hesitation, there was also a lot of individual responses suggesting that they saw the value in group work.
So I enjoy working in groups, so it means that you're working in groups a lot more and you get to hear other people's opinions and maybe like contradict them.
I thought it would be a very good idea because when we're analysing extracts or pieces of poetry, we would be able to have different ideas and we would be able to either bounce off those ideas or contradict those ideas.
There were, however, some reservations. Some students thought that they worked better by themselves, that they liked the quiet to explore and develop and refine their own ideas. Another student was concerned about the potential for judgment by her peers, and there was a degree of social anxiety reflected in 2 or 3 further responses.
I thought it wasn't going to work well because I thought everyone would talk over each other because it was a group of 3, it was a pretty big group. But then when I actually did it, it worked actually really well and everyone explained their ideas.
Good for like when you're writing stuff down and when you're annotating, it's really fun. And it's fun to work with more than one person.
Student engagement, it was high at the outset and remained consistently high all the way through the action. One word that emerged from surveys, questionnaires, interviews and flips at the end of the project was the word fun. It was repeated by a range of students in various contexts answering various questions about this action, and I was really pleased to find that aside from what they learned, that they really enjoyed the experience of participating in research and enjoyed the experience of working constructively in their small groups. An observer I had who came into the classroom noticed that classroom buzz was very high and that all the groups were either focused on exactly the task set or using the task to springboard and discuss wider concepts within the Tempest and character motivation in a way which reflects high order independent thought. Students improved their ability to work collaboratively in a mutually supportive environment. Whilst at the start, students said that they preferred some students said they preferred independent work as having no distractions and space to gather their thoughts. By the end, all students, bar one, acknowledged the benefits of working in groups. Some found that it allowed them to develop ideas further, that it helped them bounce ideas off one another, that they realised their own ideas perhaps were not the best or not the only way of exploring a text, an extract or a character, and therefore the collaborative discussion helped them improve their ideas.
So I actually really like working in trios because if you're not sure about what's happening, for example, let's say a text, then the other 2 people could have an idea and kind of help you in a way. And secondly, you could share each other's ideas and kind of look at it from a different angle.
Personally, I do not understand Shakespeare, especially if it was by myself. And instead of it being more like teacher-led, which I think I would have only got in half of the information, I was able to get in more information because not only was it teacher-led, but then I also had people of my own age doing the same thing and going through the same thing. I also found it made me be closer to my classmates. Like, I didn't really talk to Beth much before that, and now we're really good friends.
Yeah.
Small group work also impacted on their ability to learn. It helped them think more deeply about literature. By discussing and having discussion become the regular, normal way of working, students were able to delve into discussion more deeply, more efficiently than if it were a one-off activity. And this led more rapidly to better quality writing.
Working in trios has definitely helped me understand topics easily because I can see it from other people's perspectives, see how they've interpreted different descriptions of scenes or characters, and then I add that to my opinion to create a wider knowledge of the topic.
They also found the benefit through reshaping their analytical work. As a trio, having written a task, they were then able to go back and improve the grammar, improve the depth of what they said.
So before, I was like really loud, but like now that I've had a bad class and it's made me think like completely different, and I'm like, I guess I'd say I'm more quiet, and like, yeah.
Why?
Because like they put new ideas, so you're like thinking about it.
Students improved their confidence in speaking aloud. This was one of my initial key aims of the project, helping girls to find their voice within a classroom environment. Ideally with the whole class, but as a starting point using that small group, that trio format. One of the most pleasing aspects of the project for me was seeing students willingly contributing to class, whether they're putting their own hand up or being ready to contribute if selected by me as their teacher. More than that, they spoke at more length, particularly those who had been previously more reticent. And there were some examples where their trio validated their ideas. Longer term, I hope that this helps these individual students talk more regularly in English, but also in their other subjects, and to become more used to participating actively within that classroom environment?
I was really shy before we did trios, but when we were doing trios, then it wasn't the whole class, it was just like a few groups, and I spoke more and I told them all my ideas.
And what impact did that have when we came back to whole class discussions?
Then I was more confident and I put my hand up more.
Trios have definitely helped me with sharing my ideas more confidently, because if others disagree with my opinion, I don't feel as embarrassed because I know that my trio agrees with me.
I think I'm now more open-minded and I can challenge and contradict other people's opinions. And I think that's really helped because if I was to do, like, obviously we don't do this in English, but if I was to argue with myself, I would actually be able to do that. So I'd be able to debate points with myself and see, oh yeah, is this the best quote that shows it, or is this not the best quote? So I'm able to put that into like my essays or my writing.
I think it has, because before it was like I didn't really know what I could say, but then being a trio has kind of helped me properly think about things that would kind of like contribute to the class discussion.
Working in trios helps students to compromise in order to achieve valid end results. They showed impressive maturity in the latter stages of the trial, realising that if they spent their time discussing what they should do, they didn't actually complete the task and they all felt frustrated. I could see the progression from initial discussion to focused, active written work, and that transition sped up as we went through the weeks of the trial.
Normally, if we approach this issue, we try our best to vote for one idea, but that doesn't work all of the time. So normally we pick bits out of each other's ideas and then we try as hard as we can to piece them together into a good piece of writing.
Sometimes when you're writing paragraphs and essays or things like that together, you can take longer because everyone has different ideas and they might not all work with each other. Sometimes you need to compromise. So you might not get the end result that you originally thought you were going to get, but you do get part of your idea in. This does mean that, like, if we were writing something together, we'd probably take a bit longer than we usually would if we were writing it by ourselves, but it would actually end up maybe being a better paragraph than what you would usually write.
A limit to their group work was their ability to write creatively. Here, individuals feel very strongly about their own concept, and whilst they really appreciated the initial airing of ideas and discussion, they preferred to produce creative work independently. They were then very happy to bring that back to the group and then reflect on the process in a metacognitive way, and I think that as a result their work became better quality overall. To conclude, I'm really glad I chose this topic to explore through my action research. The students enjoyed it from start to end. I got a huge amount of pleasure to seeing both their enthusiasm and their improving social and cognitive or analytical skills, and I think there is a tangible, long-lasting benefit to their approach to their English lessons. It has encouraged me to reflect more deeply on my own practice, and I have now implemented small group activities much more regularly with other classes to benefit a wider number of my students. How did you two find your trio?
Brilliant.
Yeah, it was really fun.
It was really fun. I really enjoyed it.
It's really fun and it's a great addition to our learning.
Yeah, they were really fun.
And all that leaves is for me to thank my head teacher, Becky Brown, the GDST, and the wider GARC project for the opportunity to participate and share the results of my findings.